Okay, so I want to pick up on a point I made earlier. Um, about I was talking about characters and interesting characters. Movies often will have really interesting main characters, and they're struggling it out. But sometimes the characters who are not the main characters are not super interesting. It's just like some guy, and that's it. Um, they can be more blank. This movie has a great collection of smaller characters, and the fact that they're so well done makes the whole thing more interesting. Icy, obviously, is a terrible person, pressuring poor Shelley Winters into marrying Reverend Powell, which is a terrible idea, and she's just bad. Um, but her husband, Walt, oh, and Icy is also a massive hypocrite because as soon as it turns out Powell is bad, she's like the one who wants to murder him personally. He's a bad man and we got to get revenge. So she's this like terrible hypocrite. She ends the movie chasing after Powell with an axe, which is amazing. She literally just like gets an axe and is like, let's get him. Walt is an interesting character. I just get a kick out of him. He's just funny. Um, is clearly he disagrees with his wife, but he's sort of like too nervous to say anything against her. Um, but he has alcohol that he sort of secretly enjoys drinking, and she tells him not to drink it. He's all giving a little peach brandy, and then he's like, oh, she doesn't need that. That's only for emergencies. And he's like, ooh. He's a very fun, goofy character, but he knows there's something wrong with Reverend Powell. He knows something bad is going on, but he's too weak to do anything about it. He's suspicious that this doesn't feel right to him, but he bows under the pressure of his wife. Um, this is something that is mimicked in a couple of different places in the movie. Birdie also is a really great character. Um, he's a really the other thing about Walt too is that he seems like a nice guy, but then he mentions this story about gypsies that stole this horse, and his wife says, "You and your gypsies," um, like he's a little racist. Blaming shit on gypsies is like it's like a I don't know, it's a subgroup of that aren't treated very well, and he likes to blame crimes on just sort of foreigners or whatever. And it really speaks to like the larger sense of corruption. One of the things that this movie does is it suggests that like the world of Night of the Hunter, like our own world in many ways, is deeply fucked up. So that even a nicer, like I kind of like Walt. He's kind of fun. He knows Reverend Powell is bad. I know Reverend Powell is bad, so I'm kind of on his side there. He likes to have fun, a little bit of alcohol. I like to have fun. So he's kind of a cute character. And he's just a cute little old man. And he runs an ice cream shop with his wife. Um, but then the thing about gypsies, like that sucks that he's also like racist and like ready to blame things on gypsies. And by the way, when Powell turns out to be a bad guy, he gets a rope and he's ready to hang him. The last time you see him, he's got like a rope in his hands and he's ready for to go out for blood. So it's just he should be just a goofy, fun, minor character. Um, but he's not super fun because he has the gypsy thing gives him this really dark streak of like, I don't know, xenophobia is the only word I can think of for it, but it's sort of like racism. Um, I don't think gypsies are a race, but I don't really know a lot about it. So but the other character that's very similar to Walt is Birdie. Birdie, the kid's dad goes to the Pearl and John's dad goes to jail, and their mother is very weak, and she gets easily controlled and led by Reverend Powell. And she just, there's that great scene where she overhears him demanding where the money is, and she just goes, and she just comes in the house anyway and acts like, and she looks at him and she can't bring herself to even say anything she can't say, this is wrong, you're evil, you lied to me. She's just sort of, she blocks it out like it never happened. And she ends up dying for it. Or also he pushes her like she calls herself a sinner. I wanted that jewelry. I wanted that perfume. I drove my husband to rob a bank. She doesn't seem like a woman who wants jewelry and perfume. She doesn't seem like someone who cares about that kind of stuff. But she's weak, and so she gets like easily brainwashed. She brainwashes herself into thinking everything's fine. This is all fine. My new husband is fine. But he brainwashes her pretty solidly into like, I'm a sinner. The things I want are bad. And did she even want those things? He makes her feel bad about wanting sex, and then she confesses to a crowd of people in some kind of religious tent revival that she drove her husband to commit robbery to pay for her jewelry and perfume and whatever. But like that doesn't sound like what she really did. I think one of Powell just sort of convinced her that was the case. Birdie is a character who we should like, and I do like Birdie. Um, but he in the movie, when you first start the movie, you think Birdie's going to be way more helpful. Like, one of the first things he says is, if you ever get in trouble, you can always come talk to me, old Birdie, fixing your dad's boat. He does fix the boat, so he does accomplish one important thing, which is he gets that boat ready so the kids can leave. But Birdie, um, he says you can count on me, and oh shit, you can't count on that guy at all. He's a pretty serious alcoholic. He's drinking alcohol in his coffee in the morning with the kid, and he says, "Well, you gotta, get the old boiler running." And the kid's like, "Uh-huh." He's drinking alcohol with with his morning coffee, but like horribly, he sees the dead body of Shelley Winters and is too traumatized in the water when he's fishing. He's too traumatized to do anything about it. He doesn't want to go to the police because he thinks they're just going to blame him. Like, why does he think that? This is a world where justice is so poorly delivered that an innocent person doesn't want to report a crime because they think they'll be blamed for the crime. That's a little bit like our world. Um, so and he says he's going to help the kids, and they go to him for help. And he's in such a drunken stupor, he can do nothing. He cannot stop the hunter from coming after those children. By the way, the title Night of the Hunter is obviously a very dramatic title. But again, the hunter makes him sound like Satan or something. And it builds on the fairy tale aspect of it. So Birdie's completely useful, and it's one of the ways in which the story raises the stakes. Is that the kids are on their own. Like, there are no adults. The dad is in jail. The mom is totally useless. Birdie is totally useless. Walt is totally useless. Icy's an idiot, and she thinks Pal's a good guy. There's no one to look after these kids. These poor kids are just left completely on their own to kind of solve the problem. And it's, on the one hand, really dramatic storytelling, right? The key thing you do in stories is you get rid of there are powerful figures, and then you remove them so that actually, this is a silly example, but Rear Window does this. In the middle of the movie, it looks like maybe the police will help with the investigation into Thorwald. Then they don't. And then the end of the movie is more dramatic because it's Jeff and Lisa and Stella on their own solving the crime. They have to do it by themselves. This movie does the same thing. Very dramatic, very exciting. Let's make all the adults useless so these kids have to solve the problems themselves. It's kind of amazing. But it's also crushingly sad because it's a world where there's almost no one to help until they find the old lady, and she's able to kind of help them. But there's a stretch of the movie where these kids are just like in the basement with a serial killer, and they're small children, and they have to kind of do this on their own. And by the way, in Lord of the Rings, if you know Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is a powerful wizard, and he meets these little hobbits, and they're going to go on this globe-trotting adventure to fight evil. And then Gandalf dies, and the hobbits are left to do it on their own, and it makes the story more dramatic. And then fucking Gandalf comes back to life, which is less dramatic because now it's easier with Gandalf on your side. George R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones, hated that. He thought it was stupid, and you can see how he responded to that when he made Game of Thrones. What he did was he had an important, powerful dad character. And just when you think that somebody's going to save the day, they just execute him, and he's dead, and he stays dead, and all his children have to deal with life on their fucking own now. So it's a way of raising the stakes in a story, is to kind of remove, but it's very despairing. It's very empty. It's like, oh no, no one can help. There's no good in the world. This is going to have a bad ending. Night of the Hunter plays with that a little bit in its middle act before introducing the kindly old lady who's going to take care of these kids and provide some moral framework and sort of structure in their life. All right, cool. I think this is going pretty well. See you in the next video.